doing star stitch this week. I've got this lovely pink thread to match my pink cardigan, 3 strands. I've tied a knot in the end and trimmed all the excess. Okay, so to do a star stitch, it's essentially a collection of straight stitches. Okay, so if you've mastered straight stitch, then you can do that one. I'm going to make a stitch horizontally here. It's about 1 centimetre wide, I guess. And I'm starting with that horizontal one. I think that's easiest, so that you can work out where everything goes first and just get that anchored in. And then I'm doing a vertical one. There we go. Now actually this is a stitch within a stitch, so if you leave it like that it's called a St George cross, but we're going to continue to add a few more details to make the star stitch. So I guess we're learning 2 2 for the price of 1 today. So you could use the St George cross if you want to, like that, but I'm going to add the diagonal lines over that cross now to make the star. So 1 over in each direction and crossing over. Now what we need to do is we need to secure that in place. So we're going to put these little stitches in the centre, and these are called anchor stitches, funnily enough, just to secure them. So come up just to one side of that vertical line and stitch a smaller diagonal line over the middle, and then do the same on the other side. So you'll notice I'm not going right to the edge there, that's just sitting nicely in the middle to give that beautiful star effect. Right, I'm just going to turn over and carefully knot at the back. So as usual, don't pull too tight, you don't want to pull your stitches out of shape in any way. So just be careful that you're not pulling too tightly there. Right, okay, let's do another one just to make sure that you've got that. So I'll just trim off the end. There we go. Right, let's get another star stitch in. Okay, so I'm just going to do it a little bit further along. So remember, we're starting with the horizontal line, and I'm going to do it this similar sort of size. So this is roughly 1 centimetre. That's my guess, doing it by eye. Haven't measured it exactly, roughly. So once you've done that, put that horizontal line in, and that's the same length, and then you can stitch the 2 diagonals. It doesn't matter which direction you go in. If you're wanting to be super neat, then you can make sure you do it the same way every time. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to put the other one in at the other side there. There we go, and then to finish that off I'm going to put the little anchor stitches in the centre. So these don't go right to the edge like the other diagonal stitches do, they just sit right in the centre there. So make sure you're coming up to one side of that vertical line. Oops, I've got myself tangled, haven't put my thread furrow long enough, have I? Never mind, there we go, easily fixed. So yeah, so come up to one side of the vertical line and then go down through the fabric the opposite side at the bottom to create that diagonal line. Right, let's tie off here. I always do a double to make sure it's nice and secure, and try and get it as close as you can to the fabric, trimming off really close to the knot as well. And the reason for that is that we don't want the ends of it to come through your stitching in any way. Obviously with this stitch it's a bit different because it's not like satin stitch or something like that where you're doing other stitches really close to it, so it's less likely to, but just in case we'll trim all those ends. Right, I've got one more thing to show you with these star stitches that we can do, so I'm going to add another one here. Okay, so if you want to do a little bit of variation in them, it is possible to do that. So I'm going to start out in exactly the same way, get that horizontal line in first, then the vertical, when you're working out your diagonal lines, I'm just doing it by eye here. You could draw it on if you wanted to, if you want to make them exactly the same. Some of mine are a little bit shorter. I don't think with the overall effect that it matters, but if you are doing them in a row or something and you want them a bit neater, then you could do that. Right, you'll notice here that I'm tying off and I haven't anchored the stitches in, and there is a good reason for that. I'm just going to trim the back of this one, and it's because you can add a little extra bit of colour in the middle if you want to. You don't have to, but I came prepared. I've got some contrasting thread. This is just some lilac that I pulled out of my loose ends jar, and I'm just going to stitch a little anchor stitches with this colour. So come up to the side of that vertical line, just as we did before, the only difference being that it's a different colour, and it just gives a little bit of extra something. I think it makes them look a bit more like flowers than stars. It's quite a nice way of doing that. So there you go, that's it with the extra colour, little detail if you want to. You don't have to, it's just a suggestion, just something you might want to try this week. And tie off at the back. Oops, there we go. Just trim the ends. And there we have it. 3 beautiful stars for our star stitch.